Hello, Morim here. Today with a leveling guide for my take on the Lightning Storm Druid. It is a lot of fun to play and very liberal in its application of electrical currents to zap bosses and large group of minions back into hell. To make the build function in the most basic form, we need to solve 5 problems. AoE, single target, spirit generation, defenses and mobility. This build guide tackles all of those and will provide you with a well-oiled build to have a smooth and fun experience with the Druid class. Also make sure to check out my starter guide, lucky hit guide and tips video for additional information on mechanics and terms I'm using in this build guide. Otherwise this one would take probably like 20 minutes. First I will explain how Lightning Storm works and how you are going to utilize this skill in actual combat. This ability has some very interesting kinks to it because of the channel requirement to increase its intensity. Holding down your button of choice increases the amount of lightning strikes that occur by 1 with an upper limit of 5 stages, with each strike rolling its own lucky hit, crit strike and overpower shards. The stages also do not increase the spirit cost of this spell. This refers to the stages and strikes that automatically occur, so it's basically per cast. Now, channeling requires quite some time. This limits our DPS substantially. The solution to this is provided by the first improvement of this ability, which keeps the stages at the obtained value, refreshing every time we tap Lightning Storm. Tapping the button is also much faster than channeling, which in turn lets us pump out a lot of casts in a very short amount of time. Increasing the number of strikes also increases the area in which those strikes can occur. Each strike has its own area of effect that has to overlap with the target for it to deal damage, meaning the more stages you gain, the less likely it is to hit the same target with multiple bolts. Small enemies like trash mobs or elite monsters are very unlikely to be hit by 3 or even 2 strikes at stage 3 or above. The sweet spot I found for single target damage seems to be 2 strikes, with both strikes always hitting the desired foe. However, there are exceptions to this. Large targets fill out more of the strike zone, enabling us to hit them 3, 4 or even 5 times. This makes the DPS increase with the size of the enemy we are fighting. The Butcher is large enough to be regularly hit by 3 strikes in the 3rd stage, and bosses like Ashava eat up all strikes even at 5 stages. This skyrockets the DPS to very nasty levels in harder fights. A very pleasant mechanic. But you can also use the additional strikes to clear out adds or summoned minions in some fights. It's an exceptionally flexible skill, combining single target and AoE in one ability, which solves our first 2 bullet points. Clearing packs of monsters is also no problem for this build. Enemies are stacked together very often, making it possible to hit the same target with neighboring strikes, to nuke elites since we are dealing AoE damage with individual strikes. This is a great tactic for the Butcher to increase the damage you deal and get additional health pot charges. He also gets stuck on enemies, which provides you with a bit more breathing room when fighting him. Another very important mechanic of the skill is that the AoE zone prevents lightning strikes to spawn out of bounds, which makes narrow corridors your best friend. Charging up to stage 5 would be something favorable here, since we are much more likely to hit even small targets with multiple bolts. Next, let's talk about support abilities. Those are used to boost our defenses, provide us with mobility and regenerate our spirit. Poison Creeper is a very strong AoE CC ability that immobilizes targets. This can later be used for other synergistic purposes, with some lucky hits requiring the ailment to proc and even resource generation due to legendary powers. It is, however, a rather bad ability versus bosses due to their immunity to CC. An alternative to this is Bloodhaul, which heals you for 20% max HP, provides you with 20 spirit no matter what, and shapeshifts you into a werewolf, which also generates additional spirit when you shapeshift back into a human due to a passive we pick up. Each kill also lowers the cooldown of this ability by 1 second, resulting in some really good heal and spirit generation while mowing down packs of monsters. The choice between Poison Creeper and Bloodhaul is up to your preference. Both are great choices. Earthen Bulwark is an exceptionally strong defensive barrier ability that provides you with an unstoppable buff during the duration, as well as Fortify, which functions as a damage mitigation mechanic. The unstoppable buff makes you immune to CC and breaks already applied CC, a great option that can later be combined with legendary powers for additional movement speed and an even longer duration. Trample is a movement ability that knocks back targets and provides you with another instance of unstoppable. You shapeshift into a werebear form, generating spirit due to an ability upgrade, and gain even more spirit due to a passive once you shift back. A legendary power can further increase their spirit generation of this ability later on based on the number of enemies you CC with the knockback. We also pick up an ultimate ability, Cataclysm, providing us with a great source of vulnerability and knockbacks which generate additional spirit due to a legendary power. Petrify is not an option here because we are lacking critical strike chance early. The bonus damage does work on bosses, but it's only additional critical strike damage, so we don't benefit from it if we don't crit. Next, spirit generation. Lightning Storm costs us 16 spirit with the Wild Impulses passive, meaning we need to offset this cost through the chosen toolkit. Most of it comes from Wind Shear hitting enemies combined with Abundance, increasing our spirit generation even more early on. The further we progress, the more access we gain to other means like the Spirit Boon Energize, which provides us with spirit on lucky hits. The Keystone passive Perfect Storm, providing us with spirit generation whenever we hit a vulnerable, immobilized or slowed enemy. The legendary power Aspect of the Umbral, generating spirit based on the number of enemies we CC, and Trample or Bloodhole, generating spirit whenever we shapeshift. We also get 0.1% resource generation per point of intelligence, which further improves the spirit generation of this build. This bonus works on all sources, meaning 25% will turn Trample's 26 spirit into 32.5, enabling us to cast 2 Lightning Storms after its use, a very beneficial stat. Next is skill tree. Take note of each number besides the respective nodes, signifying the order in which you should pick up the skills and passives. You can find planners in the description box down below. This skill tree is tailored towards leveling and will be changed for endgame once you unlock the Paragon board. The alternate pickup order for Bloodhole instead of Poison Creeper is also on display. Next, legendary powers. Each one can be acquired by completing a dungeon or story quest, which lets you imprint them on gear at the lowest possible roll. None of them are necessary for the build to function, but all of them will boost its power immensely, resulting in a much faster and smoother leveling experience. First, the Overcharged Aspect. It provides you with an insane amount of damage versus bosses, especially versus larger targets due to the more chances to proc the debuff. This one should always be slotted into your amulet for the 50% additional proc chance. It's well worth the additional gold and material cost. This aspect can be acquired in the Marina's Refuge in Skosglen. Never slot a legendary aspect into your weapon. This just costs additional resources and has no benefit whatsoever for you because you're going to exchange your weapon regularly. Aspect of the Umbral is really great for spirit generation and can be applied to a ring. You won't need this one later due to other sources of spirit, but it's a great one to have early on, especially while using Poison Creepers. This aspect can be unlocked by completing the Champion's Demise in the Dry Steppes. The helmet and boots are great choices for additional legendary powers due to the low amount of armor. Helmets can also roll cooldown reduction and boots movement speed, which both are worth a bit more than armor, letting you safely keep them for longer. As for the helm slot, pick up the aspect of Mending Stone. This one is exceptionally strong defensively, providing you with a replenishing Earthen Bulwark when killing monsters as well as a much longer duration, further extending the unstoppable buff. This power can be unlocked in the Sealed Archives dungeon in the Dry Steppes. You can further combine this power with the Ghostwalker aspect, which increases your movement speed while unstoppable and 4 seconds afterwards, resulting in a near permanent movement speed boost with Mending Stone. You can also pass through monsters ignoring unit collision. This aspect also works with Trample and can be unlocked by progressing the campaign in Skosglen. Next up, the Spirit Boons. For the Deer, grab Wariness for some damage reductions versus elite enemies. For Eagle, grab Avian Wrath for a chunk of critical damage. The Wolf pairs well with its Energize boon, granting you quite a bit of spirit generation on lucky hits. And lastly, the Snake. Pick up Calm Before the Storm to regularly lower the cooldown of your Cataclysm. Druids can further pick up a second boon in one of the animal attributes. This should be used to gain access to either Overload in Snake or Bolster in the Wolf tree. Overload is great for additional clear, but this should not be a problem with this build. Bolster on the other hand will provide you with additional Fortify, which is quite hard to come by on its own. Picking up Bloodhole instead of Poison Creeper with this one will make sure you're nearly always capped due to its cooldown reduction on kills. Lastly, the stats you want to look out for. Disclaimer, more armor and weapon damage is almost always worth sacrificing some stats. However, gaining access to a very good item with the right stats can go a long way towards keeping it relevant for longer. Intelligence, willpower and dexterity are all great stats and very useful to us. Prioritize intelligence for more resource generation and dexterity for more critical strike chance. As for the other stats, go for critical strike chance, movement speed, cooldown reduction, core skill levels and health on your armor. Cooldown reduction can roll on your helmets and amulets, movement speed can roll on your boots and amulets, so keep an eye out for those. As for damage improving mods, go for critical strike damage, vulnerable damage, damage versus elite and healthy enemies, damage to core skills and lightning damage. Socket skulls into your jewelry for armor, rubies into your armor for health percent and emeralds into your weapon for critical strike damage versus vulnerable targets. Resistances and reductions to the damage you receive are always nice to have, but don't need to be prioritized. However, once you go for Shava, stack as much damage over time reductions and poison resistance as possible. Now this sums up my leveling guide for Lightning Storm Druids in Diablo 4. I will go into more depth on release with an endgame build guide including the Paragon board. I am not confident enough that the leaked stuff is going to stay like that, so I'm going to wait a bit. I will however discuss it a bit before release in a short theory crafting video. If you want more of the juicy content, make sure to like, sub and comment. So see you next time and bye.